Time now for today's Focus Report, which takes us to Belgium. The government there was on the brink of collapse earlier this month over a migration scandal. It was revealed that the Secretary of State for Asylum and Migration, Theo Francken, worked with Sudanese leaders to organise the deportation of Sudanese migrants. The president there has been accused of war crimes and genocide. There have also been reports that some of the people sent back to Sudan from Europe were tortured, prompting calls for Francken to step down. But his party, the New Flemish Alliance, or NVA, say they're proud of Francken's firm stance on migration, and some of them are pushing for an even more hardline approach to the issue. The NVA is part of a fragile coalition government in Belgium. Our reporters Alix Le Bourdon and Maeve McMahon went to meet with the migrants currently in Brussels to find out more.
Ahmed, je peux te laisser avec Isabelle, l'infirmière, ça va? Et Shaban, je te laisse avec Carole. Ça va?
Like every afternoon since it opened at the start of the year, this humanitarian centre is preparing to welcome dozens of migrants. Among them, Sudanese, petrified at the thought of having their faces filmed. 6 of their compatriots say they were tortured after their forced return to Sudan. A partnership last year between Belgium and Sudan revealed their identification. Walid is disgusted. He had to flee his native Darfur when his village was bombed by the Sudanese army.
The government in Sudan, dictator, is very dangerous. Like me, all my family are died after 5 years. No family in this time, alone, me.
Like many, Walid is in transit. His goal? To reach the UK as soon as possible. But meanwhile in Belgium, there's no reception nor orientation centre for these migrants. With this makeshift structure in the North Station of Brussels, NGOs are trying to make up for this.
Today there are some 500 people in Belgium who do not know whether they want to leave or not. That's a very small figure. We're wondering if the government needs the situation to fester, an open wound about the migration question, to keep on talking about it.
In Belgium, Theo Francken is in charge of migration. Since expelling many Sudanese, the opposition has called for his resignation. But the Secretary of State is not going anywhere.
We're familiar with the images of Calais, where migrants can be very aggressive. And now we're seeing this in Belgium as well. I don't want that. So giving a bed, a bath and food to all migrants in transit is not a good idea. It's a false good idea, as we say.
His hard line has provoked outrage amongst some in Belgium. Every night, dozens of volunteers meet at Maximilian Park.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 avec une croix dessus, voilà. Et le chauffeur le distribue dans le van.
This is where migrants come together.
Okay.
Launched last summer, the Citizens Platform for Refugee Support now has nearly 30,000 members who offer to be drivers or hosts.
Okay. Vous les conduisez dans une famille. D'accord.
Tonight, Jean-François will open his doors to a migrant for the very first time.
Of course I'm not going to go punch Theo Francken, but I'm going to do something more peaceful. That's why I got involved, in my own small way.
The modelling agency director will help out 3 Sudanese migrants. He'll drop 2 of them off with another volunteer and he'll take Mustafa home.
How many friends do you have?
It's like 1.
Where he is?
He is in the park.
He has a house tonight?
I don't know.
Don't know. I'm sure he will, not worry.
The idea is to bring comfort to these distressed migrants, but above all, to resist.
Twice in my life I was ashamed to be Belgian. The last time was when I learned that Belgium was violating the European Convention on Human Rights and sending people back to countries where there is torture.
Tonight, Mustafa will sleep in a warm, dry place. But for those who have no place to sleep, this centre offers 80 beds. We meet Mehdi Kassau, one of the founders of the Citizen Platform. Last summer, this former executive left everything to create this support network. This centre was opened a month ago thanks to the city of Brussels, who made the premises available.
The advantage in Belgium is that there are 3 levels of authority: federal, regional and local. So first, we ask the federal level for help. But obviously, they have a policy that they apply, a policy that they call firm and humane. For now, we have seen a lot of firmness. We are still waiting to see the humane side. So our approach was to address locals and ask them for support.
But these solidarity movements do not impress the party of the Flemish separatists.
Since January 1st, the party has grown and has 600 new members. How did that happen?
For NVA, it is thanks to the migration policy of Theo Francken.
Continue, Theo.
This is what the people are asking for, and we even see that some traditionally left-wing voters like this firm but humane policy.
For weeks in Parliament, this Green deputy has been leading the quest against the government's migration policy. He's very familiar with the rhetoric of the NVA.
This is the nationalists' typical strategy of polarization. They're trying to radicalize their nationalist electorate, the right-leaning parts of the electorate. And since in Flanders most people tend to vote on the right, well, they're polarizing on the right in an effort to capture parts of the far-right electorate that wasn't voting for them.
Migration will no doubt be at the heart of the NVA campaign for the next elections. Local elections this year and legislative elections in 2019.
Well, I'm joined on the line now from Brussels by lawyer Alexis de Soif. He's also the president of the Human Rights League. Alexis, thanks for speaking to us. We saw there that the situation for migrants in Belgium is being directly affected by the NVA's hardline policy. And that could go even further now with a new law that's being debated, which would allow police to search private homes. Can you explain a little more about that bill?
Yes, it was discussed yesterday in Parliament, and it's postponed to next week for auditions. We will be auditioned in Parliament. This law will allow the police to go in the domicile of paperless people, undocumented people in illegal stay, but also in the houses of citizens where they sleep. And it's to make more effective the policy of return to their home countries, that they want to track the illegal people in illegal stay everywhere they could hide. And for that, to try to solve, like they say, in fact, a small amount of files, they touched and harm constitutional rights of protection of your home place and protection of your private life. And this is totally disproportionate. But we see that the NVA, this nationalist Flemish party, that they always go further and further in their hard policy against migrants, against foreigners.
Indeed, they say that's actually getting them a lot of support in Belgium. But in that report, we saw a lot of Belgian citizens are involved in helping migrants on the ground. How popular do you think that such a hardline measure would be in Belgium?
It's hard to say, because the public opinion has been shocked by the policy of the government by sending back Sudanese migrants to Sudan, one of the worst dictatorships in the world, where the president is under an international warrant of arrest of the International Criminal Court in The Hague. And we have sent back 9 Sudanese people, and we've heard that they have been mistreated when they were back. And we didn't check what we have to do regarding the European Convention of Human Rights, Article 3, the risk of ill treatments, mistreatments and torture regarding Article 3 of the European Convention. And the Secretary of State, Theo Francken, said that he has done this check, and apparently he lied. He has lied to the Prime Minister, he lied to the Parliament, which is a very big fault in politics. And so the public opinion is quite revolted by that. And we see that the resistance is organizing as well among the citizens, who every day, every night in the park in Brussels, the Maximilian Park, they go to give the migrants a shelter between 400 and 500 people. And so we see the government says they don't want a second Calais in Brussels, but in fact there is no second Calais in Brussels. First, Calais, it was between 10,000 and 15,000 people in the jungle in Calais. Here we're speaking about 400, 500 migrants. And if there is no second Calais in Brussels, it's just thanks to the Solidar citizens who opened their homes for the migrants. And we see that this civil citizens' resistance is increasing, but, which is very important, we see also resistance among the police. The local police of Brussels does not want anymore to collaborate with the federal police of the Minister of Interior because they say your policy, Minister of Interior, doesn't solve anything. You're just evacuating the problem and the migrants to our neighbor countries, but you solve nothing. And so the mayor of Brussels and the local police say, no, we don't collaborate. And thirdly, which is also very important, we received some tips from whistleblowers inside the state organizations that informs us about the police actions of arresting migrants. And we could prevent 2 police actions already to save and bring in safety the migrants before they could be arrested by the police.
Alexis, I'm sorry, that's all we've got time for. Thanks very much for that analysis from Brussels. That's all for this bulletin. We'll be back.